As always, appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to leave us a review, 5 stars on Spotify and Apple, and then subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts.
This guy hasn't done anything, or he was a four-sport athlete and he's never trained. So gathering that information I think is like key, but then to make the decision in terms of how you scale it, right? Where does athleticism fit compared to makeup and this and that?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, man, I don't think there's like a right answer for that. I think that's what we're trying to do.
All right, welcome back to episode 50 here of the Bullpen. Later in the show, we're going to be joined by Mitch Schulewitz. He is a scout with the LA Dodgers in the Four Corners area of the country. He was a former Prep Baseball Illinois intern back when he was in college. So grateful that he's hopping on, and we're excited to kind of get into a good convo with him and see what he's got for us. But yeah, what do you guys got? I mean, how are you guys doing this weekend?
I'm good.
Good. Bears played well yesterday. I always love watching the Cleveland Browns get the crap beaten out of them. It's a nice weekly tradition that I always enjoy. So yeah, shout out to the Bears. 10 wins this year already. You guys pop your collars.
Oh, that was fun to watch, and I don't know if we'll just get right into NFL talk then, but that was not I don't know if it's a pleasant surprise, but it just like fired me up to see that coming off the loss to the Packers. You know, who knows how we're going to respond. Figured it would be a scrappy game, but for them to just kind of do what they did was really impressive. I'd love to see it. I thought that was one of Caleb's best games of the year, too. So, in that weather, for them to be unfazed and for the passing game to look the way it did. I'm a little worried about the injuries. Roma Dunze and Luther Burden and Cole Kmet went down there for a little while. Looks like Cole's going to be all right, but we're going to need those weapons moving forward.
It was the first stress-free game I feel like we've had in a while. But yeah, I mean the injuries is interesting because I know the Packers got pretty banged up yesterday too. I know their two tackles are hurt, and then Micah Parsons obviously is. I don't know the official.
I think he tore his ACL, right?
Tore his ACL. Yeah, he's
tough.
done.
That's really tough. But yeah, I know they're banged up too, so it'll be interesting.
I'm glad that game's in Chicago, and it's Saturday night, isn't it? They moved it to a Saturday. That'll be kind of
sweet. Saturday afternoon. You guys are you fantasy playoffs right now? Any updates there?
Yeah. Go ahead, Dane. You go first.
I'm in the losers bracket. I had a bye in the losers bracket. Your boy. I killed it on the waivers this year, but the draft, my first round, I went with Derrick Henry, and he got 30 points the first week, and then I think he averaged 8 points the next 7 weeks. I sucked during the draft. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I'm wearing it right now.
Hammond, I'm really curious to hear how your one is it your lone team you did this year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I'm in a few leagues, but go ahead. Because for those that don't know, you were off to a 11 or 12-0 start.
Yeah, I was 11-0.
So I'm really curious how it's going.
I was 11-0, stumbled in at 11-3, lost the last three. But no, I'm thanking my lucky stars that my opponent put Kyle Pitts on the bench. He had 45 points, so that would have just been me to a T, dominate all year. I mean, I also have Patrick Mahomes, which really sucks. He's out for the season now too. But I have Matthew Stafford as my backup, so we'll be fine. But Kyle Pitts, if that would have just been my season to a T, dominate all year. Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL, random guy on the bench puts up 45, then I'm just done. That would have been hilarious. Kind of what I was expecting, but I think unless his kicker gets 30 points tonight, I win this first round. So we'll see.
Yeah, I got to, in one of my leagues, got to experience the Kyle Pitts stardom in the worst way because I lost by, I think, 2 points. Kyle Pitts obviously had 45. And then my kicker was the Bengals kicker, and they got shut out yesterday. So I'm really upset that's how I ended up losing. Is Kyle Pitts, alone almost scores 50 points, and I lose by 2 in one league. But luckily, I'm still in the playoffs with 3 other leagues. I need a big night out of DK Metcalf tonight. I'm down 22, so if he can somehow go off tonight like he did last week on my bench, that'd be awesome. But I'm sure he won't go off tonight because I'm playing him. I sat him down last week. We had a talk about, needing to step up. He heard me, but it was on the bench. So
Yeah, I made playoffs. I'm in one of my leagues. I got the bye for the first round, and in the other league, yeah, no worry. I mean, it's just what I do. No, and in the other ESPN league that I'm in, um, it did not make the playoffs, but I had the most points scored against me in the league, but also like the third or fourth highest points scored. So everybody I played was basically having their best weeks against me. So I just kind of a tough year there, but so I'm in the losers bracket for that. But yeah, I'm feeling good about my team that I made the playoffs in. I got Amon Ra and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then some good running backs too. So I feel like I'll have a decent shot in the playoffs.
Yeah, we can move on. Mine's not worth talking about. So.
Okay.
Tough year. Tough year in the fantasy football for me. So
it's a rebuilding year, Drew. You're all right.
yeah, we'll see.
Just regroup next year.
See, it's tough, man. Not a good draft and not many good waiver pickups, and it just was a recipe for disaster. Wish I could say anything else, but no, that's about it.
Some college football stuff though I just had to touch on because last week I mentioned it. Illinois State advanced again. They beat UC Davis 42-31 in the quarterfinals. I think last week I said when they beat North Dakota State that was the quarterfinals, but that was incorrect. They this past weekend was quarterfinals for FCS playoffs, and then next Saturday they'll play Villanova in the semifinals. So pretty cool that they're continuing to march on, and we'll see how they do the rest of the way. But
Who's in
just had to
that?
mention that.
Who else is in that still? Do you know?
I have no,
Okay.
I don't. I just know they're playing Villanova. I think. Let me look. I actually have the bracket. It's Montana State and Montana on the other side. So we'll see. It's kind of crazy that obviously Illinois State beat North Dakota State, but I feel like South Dakota State not being in it is also crazy because those are typically the two best FCS teams. So yeah, a little different this year, I guess.
Montana, big football state. Wasn't Montana State was also that the school where that player was like freaking out at the coach, right?
Yes.
Did you guys see that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know.
It was like at the end of a
that.
game. I
Yeah.
think it was Montana State. Now that you say that,
I want to look that up.
yeah, because I don't know whatever happened there. But no, shout out to the Redbirds, Gav. In the big boy league this weekend, playoffs start. First round of playoff games are this weekend, starting Friday. So I'm excited to sit down and watch some of that this weekend. But I don't know if anybody here has any rooting interest in what happens with the playoffs. I know not a ton of huge college football guys on this podcast, but obviously my team sucked this year, so they're not even there. But I'm excited to watch some college football this weekend.
No, I was just gonna say I'm actually I don't have a team here, but I'm kind of rooting for Indiana. I know it's like kind of lame being the number one team in the country, but it's a really cool story. So I don't know. I guess at least it gives me someone to kind of root for. I mean, it's just if they ended up winning it, it'd be incredible. Um, I know they're ranked number one, and it's not really an underdog, but in a way, I feel like it kind of feels that way just because it is Indiana and not an Ohio State or Oregon or one of those top teams at SEC school, whatever. But
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't have any rooting interests either, but the transfer portal is in full swing right now in terms of quarterbacks. DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, a couple of like 5-star quarterbacks are in the portal, and then Cincinnati's quarterback as well. So a lot of the momentum's going for some of these new schools. So we'll see.
Well, we already know where Dylan Raiola is going. Come on now. He's got to complete the Mahomes prophecy, right? He's got to be headed to Texas Tech, right? I mean, that's
wild.
like a no-brainer because their quarterback, I think, graduates this year anyway. So the stars are aligning. I'm calling it now. He's going to Texas Tech.
What did you guys think of the Heisman voting? Did you guys see that?
I didn't.
I really didn't watch it this year, Hammond. So what you got?
No, me neither. I just know that Mendoza won, and the Diego Pavia kid was pretty pissed about it, which I thought was an interesting strategy for someone that wants to get drafted to the NFL, and just like what he was saying about the voters and stuff. But to each their own. But no, I thought Mendoza deserved it. That kid's a stud, and he seems like a good kid too, like a genuinely good person. Like he did that whole shopping spree thing with Adidas, which was really cool for like 4 families. Yeah, it seems like he's one that's like using his platform for good, which is really good to see, refreshing. Just with how NIL is now and all the money being thrown around. But yeah, I didn't actually like watch it, but
Yeah, I echo that. I feel like it's crazy the turn Pavia's been on, because I feel like last year he was like this huge like underdog story, right? Like he's brought Vandy to like prominence and made them relevant, and then he like the last few weeks has just been on this crash course to kind of turn into like the least likable person in college football. It's honestly impressive. But I'm totally with you, Hammett. Like obviously I wish Penn State could have beaten Indiana a few weeks ago. That's like the closest game they've had, but I totally echo everything you said about Mendoza. He seems like just an outstanding person. The right person won, apparently. So
Before you maybe transition to the next segment here, like one thing is you guys were talking about Illinois State, winning and advancing. Like I wanted to look up the D3 college football because North Central College, shout out to them here in the Chicagoland area. When it comes to D3 football, has been a powerhouse, and it looks like they're going to be in the semifinals starting this weekend. So down to 4 teams there in D3. And they are the one team that I see here from Illinois still in the mix. So
who's left?
Looks like John Carroll.
Okay, Ohio. There we go.
I figured you'd be on that one. And then Johns Hopkins.
All right,
and UW River Falls.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's what I got on a little D3 football there, playoffs.
I was talking to their,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was talking to Connor Chrisman. He's the assistant baseball coach at North Central. He said they went like 5 years in a row like to the Natty, which is like insane. And I know they must have just beat Wisconsin lacrosse, because I know that's who they were playing in the last round. But
you got that right. Yeah, it looks like they beat them 35-27.
Yeah.
And I knew they've been a powerhouse. I didn't know those numbers. That is pretty nuts.
Yeah, it's silly. That place is so cool. Like just North Central in general, just the whole area.
Actually this weekend I was talking to one of my buddies, and he played Division III golf, so he's like really big into like D3 sports and stuff. And he was telling me that North Central, whatever the Heisman is for D3, whatever they call it, they've had like the past 3 or 4 guys in a row have won that award at North Central too. So it's just crazy. It seems like they're always pretty talented. And I know like a guy I played travel baseball with in high school went there to play football, and he won a natty there and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Are they good at other sports too, or is football like their
No,
one
they
of their
are.
main
I think they're
everything?
strong in all athletic programs. I know the
Really?
baseball team's always been really solid, but there is one sport there, and I can't remember off. I know I'm gonna misquote it or whatever, but there's a team. It might be like cross country or track and like something. It's worth probably looking up. That's won a national title like 20 years in a row. But
Wow.
I don't, yeah, it's probably not good that I'm shouting it out here and I don't totally know what I'm talking about, but it was one of the crazier stats I've ever heard. So maybe I can update us later on in this episode here. I'll give it a look.
Yeah, but Dane, what do we got on state games commitments now?
Yeah, we're creeping up to 170 commitments. The latest to Aiden Nelson to Harper Junior College, and then Cooper Holman to Bradley, right-handed pitcher. So it's creeping up, and numbers keep flying up. So it's pretty cool to see.
And then Ty, what about some MLB news? I know there's some signings happening the past week.
yeah, last week, like we talked about, was the winter meetings, and honestly, I felt like this year the winter meetings were a lot more active than they usually are. Like I feel like every year they like hype it up, and they're like, oh, there's gonna be a ton of deals, and usually like you'll get like 1 or 2 big signings or like a trade or something. But this year you had Kyle Schwarber re-signing with the Phillies, which really sucked as a Reds fan. Really thought there was a slight chance we were gonna get him to come home. And then you had Edwin Diaz signing with the Dodgers. So I feel like the one thing the Dodgers really lacked this past year was bullpen help, so nothing like going out and getting arguably the best closer in baseball, so good for them. And then you got Pete Alonso signing with the Orioles. Felt like that was a kind of a shock. Like, the Mets supposedly didn't even give him an offer to come back, and he's the all-time leader in home runs for the Mets in franchise history, so interesting strategy there. And then your Cubbies, you guys signed Holby Milner. I was actually going to turn this over to you guys because you guys are obviously more knowledgeable here, but I also thought it was interesting. You guys apparently met with Alonso at the winter meeting, so I felt like that would have been a ginormous signing if you guys would have somehow gotten Alonso, but I'll turn it over to you guys for a little bit of Cubs corner here.
Well, then maybe we talked about it last episode, but they met with Devin Williams too, and like cheaped out on him. But no, Holby Milner, I mean, he's like one of those funky like sidearm guys, if I'm not mistaken, and I've faced him in MLB The Show, and he was not easy to hit. So I'm sure it's like, I'm sure it translates to real life. So I'm in on that signing for sure.
I love it. That's the hard hitting analysis I was looking for right there, Pete. And then just before we hopped on here, we're recording on Monday, obviously, but Adolis Garcia signed with the Phillies, so the Phillies obviously bolstering their offense. And then another thing, I think this happened over the weekend, but Merrill Kelly, right-handed arm for the D-backs, re-signed with the D-backs, and I thought I heard it, I don't know if it was from one of you guys, but I thought I saw some Cubs people talking about like him being a guy they'd maybe look at signing this year, so him re-signing with the D-backs kind of takes him off the radar, but just some interesting stuff. I'm sure more stuff will happen really here in like towards the end of this month in January, and you'll get a bunch of trades and stuff probably, but yeah, that's basically what happened last week at the winter meeting, Scav.
And Drew, just continuing to highlight that ProCase roster, a couple more guys registered over the past weekend. You got anything you want to touch on that?
Love to see it. We got Jory Crocker registered. He's a middle infielder from Willowbrook. He's heading to Arizona for college, or at least that's where he's committed. He'll be a great one to get an updated look at for us and those pro scouts. He checks a ton of boxes, so really excited to see him. And then talking about checking a lot of boxes, like Henry Humes, right-handed arm out of Homewood Flossmoor. He's committed to Northwestern. He signed up as well. Long levered frame, kind of how you draw it up, starter profile, and really excited to see him at the event as well.
All right, and then we got the hot list here, which has two topics left. We have the favorite high school logo and our favorite high school field. This week, it looks like we're going to have our favorite high school logo. I know this is kind of the one we talked a lot about beforehand, so I think we're going to each probably pick one, and then it sounds like we kind of have some honorable mentions that we'll just touch on because we found some interesting logos here to hit on here. So whoever wants to go first, feel free.
I'll do it. IVC, the Ghost. I think
Great
it is
one.
Just such a unique logo. It's a unique mascot name for a school. Like, I absolutely love it. It's kind of like not scary, but like it's not just like a boring ghost. Like I love how the logo is like designed. Was easily far and away my number one. So I'm happy to. I was really worried, Gavin, Dane, you guys were going to take them. I know they're over in your guys' part of the state, so I'm relieved that I got them.
I just had to Google it. It looks like the ghost is kind of jacked. Like he's got some Popeye arms on him.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that creativity.
I had them on my big
that
board.
is a good one.
Yeah.
I just growing up in the area, that's always like the logo and like their jerseys, kind of like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I've always thought were cool, but it adds to the coolness factor because they were just like always for a long time, like the 2000s. Growing up, they were always like such a good team. Like they had so many guys come through there, so it like added to the coolness factor of IVC as a whole too. So yeah, that's a great logo.
I can hop in. I also like how you
for it.
mentioned that you weren't scared of the logo, that it's not scary, but it's a ghost. But I had them. That's a great call. I had them on my big board as well. So I'll go here. I'm going to take the Freeport Pretzels. I just think the logo itself is really cool, like the pretzel logo. But when they were at the IHSBCA convention, we saw a variation of the logo, and it was like that Reds logo with like the baseball man. So they have a couple
Mr.
cool logos.
Redlegs.
Mr. Redlegs
is his name.
Yep. So they got a couple cool logos. They're always just one of the first ones that I think of when I think of like cool, fun logos. It's literally just a pretzel. So yeah.
All right, I'll get in here with. I know you guys are going to think I'm a homer here, but the Henry Senachwine Mallards, their logo has always been one of my favorites. Obviously, just growing up, being a Mallard myself, but I still stand on that it actually is. It's just cool and it's unique and it is very very Henry because there's a lot of duck hunting in that area too. So it just makes sense. So I'm going the Mallards.
I'm seeing a lot of variations on that, Gavin. Is the one that you like that's almost like the angry mallard looking right at you? Because then there's a couple where it's
There,
like turned sideways with the HS.
that's the new one.
Okay.
I still like the new one. There was one growing up that I'll try and find it and send it to you guys. That was more of my favorite one, but yeah.
I've got one that looks incredible. Yeah. It kind of almost gives me like the old school St. Louis Cardinal vibes, but it's a mallard instead. Yeah, I love that. Well, I guess since I have the floor, I'll one that I'm kind of partial to. I've always just thought it was really sweet, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the Saint Viator Red Lion, I think is just a really cool, unique logo, and maybe I'm partial because my wife went there. But I think it's a really really cool logo.
I'm gonna go with the Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond Knights. I think that's a sick logo. I don't know. It's just I looked at it, I was like, wow, that pops. And so I'm
Can
gonna
you
go with
say it again so I can check it out? The Arthur.
Arthur Lovington Atwood Hammond Knights.
All right.
Do you want me to go
Feel
with
free
my
to.
oh sorry.
No, go ahead. If I was cutting in, whatever you were gonna say.
I was just gonna go with our honorable
Yeah,
mentions.
just let's get a
Yeah.
list. What do you got? Just
Okay,
give
I
me a
got
little
two
list.
more. I'm gonna go with the Dietrich Moving Maroons, kind of like the Roadrunner. I think it's sick. And then I'm also gonna go with we go to Rantoul quite a lot, and there's a town that I got to go through to get to Rantoul, and it's the Fisher Bunnies. I think it's a sick logo as well.
I'll give out my honorable mentions now. Pretty common theme here is that I go for your non-basic like team names. So my first one we kind of found this like right before we hopped on, but Egyptian high school down there like the southern tip of the state, the Pharaohs. I love it. It's different, like I said, not your typical school name. The logo, I feel like they could spice up the logo just a little bit, but I think it still gets the job done. And then we got Elk Grove, the Grenadiers. I think it just looks pretty sharp. It looks like they've maybe updated it recently, and it just looks a little bit more modern. And then we got Geneseo, the Maple Leafs. Sweet name. Like we're out here in Illinois, the frickin' Maple Leafs, like that's elite right there. And then we got rounding it out, my last one, the York Dukes. I've always really liked their logo. In the few years I've been doing this, so that's where my honorable mentions end.
I really wanted to cut you off. It was hard for me to let you keep kind of going there, but you mentioned the Elk Grove Grenadiers, and I'm impressed that you said it correctly. Because like when I first saw it, I wasn't sure, but the reason I bring it up is I played at IU Southeast, Indiana University Southeast, and we were the Grenadiers. And I always thought we had a super unique logo as well. So just want to shout that out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just get in here. A couple more that I liked. I'm just actually looking at this map with all the logos right now. Kind of sticking in the Tri-County Conference there. I'm going with Putnam County. I always liked the Panthers logo. They always like that. They've changed it since I've gotten out of high school a little bit, but it's always kind of been just unique. And then St. Bede in Peru, the Bruins. I've always thought a really cool logo. Washington, the Washington Panthers. I like their logo a lot. And then kind of a unique name. I'm surprised no one's even said this yet, but the Teutopolis Wooden Shoes. They've got it's a cool logo itself, just like the T, and then I don't know, it's got like the little, I guess it's a shoe, isn't it? It just has like wooden shoes across it or something. But yeah, just a few others there.
Yeah, I'll jump in with my honorable mentions. The Roxana shells were my like 1B. It's literally just like the Shell logo, like the gas company. It's pretty cool. And then I had the Coal City Kohlers with one of their throwback logos. The Reed Custer Comets was a cool one. Kenwood Academy, I've always really liked their Bronco and the colorway, like that baby blue and the red. I think that goes really well together. The Argonauts, like my mom went there. It's like a really cool ship, like I don't know, Drew's a golf guy. He'll know like the Cabot Cliffs logo. It's kind of like that old pirate ship. And then the Effingham Flaming Hearts is pretty cool too. It's just like a heart with the flames on it. Yeah, I don't know. The Roxana shells are probably my favorite though out of that whole list. Like they're like I said, like my 1B. Just the yellow and the red pops.
I'm trying to search these as you guys are saying them because I want to see them all. That Kenwood call out is such a good call out. I love those colors. I'll give you a couple here. St. Viator, when I originally thought of logos, like to me, that one really stood out just from watching them play and always thinking it was really cool. But as I was doing some more research on this, the Ottawa Township Pirates, I love that logo. The one they have online, at least, like it's a really cool looking pirate. And not only is it a pirate, but he's biting a sword, which I thought was just a nice touch. The PBL, Paxton Buckley Loda, they have like the PBL and it's like drawn into like making a panther, which I just thought was really, really creative if you guys want to look that one up. And then Riverside Brookfield, right in your backyard there, Tyler, they have just an awesome looking bulldog. Like it's a really well done picture and drawing of a bulldog. And then also the Streeter Bulldogs. And what got me there was like they have the dog chain, but not only do they have the dog chain, it's like a spiked dog chain. So man, you don't want to play that club. They look dangerous. So those were just a few that I did some research on and I love. They caught my eye for sure.
Hey, the Canton Little Giants too. I meant to mention them. That's just an interesting name, but their logo's kind of cool too. Yeah, all right. And then looking at the way too early spring outlook again, just kind of highlighting some teams here around the state. Who do you guys got? Who do you want to go with?
I can jump in. I want to shout out Stevenson High School. I think they got an intriguing duo on the mound and in the outfield with Frank Constable and Ryan Harris both going to UIC. I think pitching, like high-end pitching talent like that is, not easy to come by. And if you have two of them that can, that kind of check those boxes, I think, that's a luxury that you can definitely have in the playoffs. And then they got a couple more arms. Drew Clark's a good one that we've seen in the past. Sam Prosk, Alex Hahn, Dylan Fawcett is an interesting 2027. He'll be a newcomer that should help add depth. But they got a couple interesting position players that I've liked in the past with Sam Adelman and Aiden Crawley. And then Ryan Martin, the JJC commit. And then Mason Nolasco. He's one that showed really well for us in the past at the state games this past summer. Elmhurst commit. He can kind of play all over, catcher, outfield. He's a good athlete. But then Constable and Harris will also both play a position as well. So I think they just got a nice, well-rounded group with some high-end talent, and then I think they got a chance to make a run.
I'll go next here. I'm going to take Providence Catholic. Just since I've been doing this annually, they're one of the better teams in the state, it feels like, every year. Obviously, last year they lost a lot in that senior class, specifically kind of like a good mix of like their top three arms, right? And Cooper Eggert, Caston Gobert, and Nate O'Donnell. But Eggert and O'Donnell were two of their better bats as well. I know Eggert was kind of banged up throughout the spring, but they also lose a guy like Enzo Infelice. However, a lot to like with the guys that could step up this year. They'll bring back Sammy Atkinson, Sam Webb, Bryce Tenza. They'll add Landon Eamon to the mix, and then just some young arms that I think a lot of us are very high on, right? And we've talked on them in recent weeks, and that's Lincoln Boersma, Kobe Jordan, two guys right there in the 27 class, and then also a guy like Charlie Caroselli, and then you'll have Austin Leapart, who could be a dark horse to get some big time innings this year, 2028. So always like what Coach Mark Smith does over there at Pravi. So that's a team I got my eye on.
You couldn't be more spot on. They're always going to have depth. And it's just like, all right, they lose an Enzo and Felice. All right, who's the next guy to step up? I think Cole Clower even threw some innings for them as a freshman. So I'm sure there's more guys that, we don't even know about, or maybe we don't realize are in the mix that can help them out. I'm going a team I like here is Plainfield North. We'll see how they do this year, but like one of the reasons I love them is Sam Finn. To me, if you have an ace on the mound, pretty much that guy, like a Brandon Shannon was last year from McHenry, and they had a lot more than that. But the guy that, hey, when he takes the ball, you have a really good chance to win that game no matter who they play, and they have one of those guys. Sam Finn's a senior committed to Kentucky, big-bodied, and he's left-handed. I really like them anytime he takes the ball. According to Coach Darlington over there, pitching should be their strength. Coach Darlington's clubs just in the past always compete as well. That's one reason I like them, just to have a good year. They've got a ton of 2026 two-way guys that are going to help them on the mound. Johnny Andrutich is one, Matthew McCormick, Jackson Schott, Chase Holtzman. And then they've got a couple left-handed bats. I mentioned Johnny Andrutich. It's going to be a two-way guy for him, but they also have Connor Edinburgh, who's just a compact left-handed hitter and kind of a performer. And then Joe Valenza is another left-handed hitter that we saw this past summer at our Last Chance Summer ID. And just watching the video, it's long through the zone with some leverage uphill. Just a lot of guys to like there. Logan Hugel's another one that should be an impact bat. And we'll see what happens this spring, but just from a far too early look, that's a team I'm going to just kind of have my eye on from afar.
Yeah, I'm going to get in on Muhammad Seymour. 5 regional titles in a row now. Last year they won 23 games. They did lose some key seniors on last year's group, but they do return some, 4 starting position players and then 3 starting pitchers from last year's group. It looks like pitching will probably be their strength this year. Max Young's going to be leading the way. Austin Wyke, just a couple guys there, but they have some young talent as well coming through the system that we've liked. And Coach DiFilippo, he's got a 382 and 176 record, 7 regional titles, 7 conference championships, and kind of like I mentioned on Coach Staub last year, always having Champaign Central ready to go. I think Coach DiFilippo always is kind of in the same boat. They're always consistently winning games. They're always going to perform and compete, I guess I should say. They're always going to compete. So yeah, I'm going Muhammad Seymour this year. It's just a team to keep an eye on, and we'll see how they do.
I'm gonna go with Normal U High. I think that they have a good group, mixture of a couple of 2026 Caleb Hornbrook, catcher, committed to Lakeland, and then Isaiah Gigante, committed to DMAC. And then they also have 2 big-time 2027s, and Parker Roop, middle infielder, committed to Belmont, and then outfielder Cole Brent, committed to Illinois. Carson Freericks is a guy that really popped at one of our Central Illinois summer IDs, and he went on to state games, as well as first baseman / outfielder Landon Beckman is another 27 to keep an eye on. And then they also have 28 catcher, outfielder, and pitcher Wes Thompson, who's ranked inside the top 50 of our rankings. So good group to look at, and very interested to see what they do.
Yeah, then looking at prospect of the week here, I'll just get right into it with my guy, right-handed pitcher TJ Heatherly from Galesburg. He's an uncommitted 2026, 6'2", 205, a guy I saw at the Kickoff Classic last year. I want to say they were playing off Fallon when I saw him. I can't remember exactly, but I thought it was interesting. He was an easy mover. It was pretty clean, attacking the zone with a fastball slider combo in that game. But in showcase, the state games, things like that, we've seen him sit low to mid 80s. He's been up to 88. Has a curveball. It's like 11.5 shaped, upper 60s, low 70s. And then he also mixes in a changeup that sits in the mid 80s, or sorry, the low 80s. But yeah, solid mover, just an uncommitted name there out of Galesburg to keep an eye on.
I'll hop right in. I'm going to go with Keegan Sipe as my uncommitted prospect of the week. Physical left-handed bat out of Triad. Had him down at the Future Games this past year, and I think Drew touched on it right after we got back from Future Games, but A guy who just unfortunately, like, I don't think he saw a single right-handed arm down there, but to his credit, he took really good at bats regardless, facing tough left-handed arms down there in Georgia. He's 6'3", 210. Had a big spring this past year for Triad, and a guy that I think will hit for power at the next level wherever he goes. We think he's maybe been on a couple visits, so hopefully he's not on the market too much longer, but a guy I'm going to take here in Keegan's site.
I'll hop in here. I'm going to go with Josiah Patterson. He's a guy that I saw during the state games. He really popped on my field. He's a 2027 from Kenwood, right-handed pitcher. He gave an upside look with a 4-pitch mix. Athletic 5'10" frame. Had a loose 3/4 arm slot. Fastball was mid-80s, got up to 88. Had 2 high spin breakers. I just really like the upside with Josiah. I think there's a lot more in the tank for him.
I'll jump right in with Hayden Noha from Oak Forest. He's one that I saw in Rantoul this past summer. Really, I mean, stood out right away. 6'2", 170, long levered, projectable, but he's a basketball player. And I love those guys, those athletes that are just like, you can tell they're just bouncy on the mound and they're athletic and they move well. But I saw him like around the 86 mile an hour mark, and you could tell like that's going to tick up. That's going to make a jump soon. And it sounds like he has with Coach Gorney over at Oak Forest. He's told us there's rumblings of him being 90 plus on a Rapsodo. So there's a ton of clay there, really high ceiling. He's going to be one that we definitely want to go out and see this spring. But yeah, uncommitted, just, those athletic right-handers that are multiple sport guys. Yeah, they don't come around too often like that, but I think he's one that needs to be shouted out for sure.
There's still a number of interesting prospects in the 2026 class on the board, but one that sticks out to me is right-handed pitcher Cooper Chappell at Wabanzi. Showed well this past summer at the Chicagoland Summer ID. What I love about it is long levered, like easy to dream on, going to add some more quality muscle down the road. It's like 6'3", 170 right now, and the arm is really loose. Like there's much more in there. Love the way the fastball comes out of his hand, and he shows the makings of like a 3-pitch mix. So like I just think the ceiling on this guy is pretty high. And he's currently ranked number 162 in the state. And then I was going to put a bow on my comment earlier about the North Central College and what athletic program was pretty dominant. The men's cross country team, from what I can see here, actually, let's just say, Gav, you may have to edit that because I don't know. Yeah, okay. So I was going to put a bow on what I was talking about earlier with the North Central College athletic program that was dominant. It looks like the men's cross-country team has won 19 NCAA national championships. The number that is just crazy is that they've won 51 consecutive conference championships in the CCIW. It's the longest conference title streak in NCAA history. So there was something there. But yeah, shout out to North Central College and their athletic program.
All right, let's get into our interview with Los Angeles Dodgers scout Mitch Schulewitz.
All right, well, we are blessed and lucky to be joined here today by Mitch Schulewitz. He's an Illinois native. Please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, Mitch, but 2013 grad from Mundelein, pitched at UIC, got a little taste of pro ball there with the Royals, and then after the Royals, you started scouting with the Dodgers. You were in the Midwest for a little while. You've moved out to Arizona. You're covering the Four Corners. I know you kind of have some responsibilities in the Midwest, maybe Wisconsin and stuff like that. And I mean, our relationship, I'm lucky enough to have known you now for a long time. You started, one summer you joined us as an intern here at Prep Baseball Illinois, and shoot, you may have taught me, just as much as I taught you at that point. But it's been great to kind of get to know you and see how you've progressed in this game. So thanks for joining us. Pumped to have you on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Super, super fired up to be here. Obviously, PBR was like a big jump start to honestly my passion in scouting. So really excited to kind of get back and talk shop and dive into some baseball talk, man. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and I'd love to hear that too, that maybe we like kind of scratched the surface for you and made you realize this could be something you want to do long term. And I mean, you were the the intern dream, because you came in and you already had a great head on your shoulders. You knew a ton about the game. You were ahead of a lot of interns that we typically get here. And you were one of those guys where, like, I could tell right away, it's like, this guy's got a bright future in baseball or whatever he does. So it's no surprise, like, to see what you're doing now, and the fact that you're with the Dodgers, one of the more elite organizations in all of baseball. You've been able to capture, what is it, 2 World Series now since you've been with them? Is that correct? 2 in a row?
Actually 3 now,
Okay,
man. Yeah, I
I
had the
knew I might have been
2020
wrong
one.
with that. Okay, well,
Yeah.
congrats. That's incredible stuff. I don't want to maybe jump the gun here, but for me, like, how did you get connected with the Dodgers? How did that all begin? Because you were young, from what I remember when you got in there.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, man. And honestly, like, I really do like mean this. Like, PBR really like sparked like my interest in scouting. I had my mind on playing just like every other guy. You go out, I got a quick chance, like the opportunity to sign as like an undrafted free agent. And then I quickly, like, seriously, man, I showed up to spring training the first year and I was like, man, I'm not a big leaguer. I'm probably here just to like coach the younger guys and be around the younger guys and help them out. But it was like a good realization for me that, like, okay, there's got to be something after this. And actually, like, behind the scenes, I was like in the process of planning on like pursuing like a clinical psychology degree. I was going like totally out of baseball. So had no anticipation of like getting opportunity in baseball. And I was finishing up a year of independent ball. When the University of Illinois Chicago, my alum, head coach had reached out about a volunteer job assistant. So I quickly transitioned right in. It kind of just like fell in love with the process of being around the players, development side, kind of getting my feet wet. And it was just about a quick, about a year, like I got to the next fall when the Dodgers had reached out to some of the like colleges in the Midwest just looking for a candidate. They were in like the very early stages of just putting together a list of people that they could possibly interview. And fortunately had great relationships with the UIC staff, and they kind of pushed my name out there. They knew I needed the job, I needed money, like I needed a little bit of an opportunity to kind of move forward. And fortunately was kind of like, I always say this, man, like my interview process, I think I was just like young and dumb. Like I fooled the Dodgers like a little bit. Like I went in and I was like so authentically like myself, because I went in, I'm like, dude, this is Los Angeles Dodgers. There's no way I'm getting this job. Like I'm going back to UIC. I don't even know why I'm doing this. And I think it kind of helped me like be calm, just kind of be myself. And I think that like helped throughout the process. But yeah, it was kind of just like a word of mouth deal. Went through an extensive interview process. I mean, 4 or 5 different interviews, with like trips to like Vanderbilt for a fall game. It was like Jupiter. They sent me there to evaluate players. I'll never forget, like they told me the 20/80 scale and I had no idea what they were talking about. And it was like, evaluate Alec Thomas at the time. I'm like, oh, he's a good player. Like, he's like a 40, and they're like, you're an idiot. Like, this guy's going the first round. So, like, I literally had no idea what I was doing, but I was passionate. I was curious. I was excited. And fortunately, Stephen Head, who's now the cross-checker in the Midwest, who was the area scout at the time, I think, like, gave me enough positive review that we were able to move forward with it. So that was kind of like a little long-winded, but like kind of like the process of getting there, man.
Absolutely love that, because I'm guessing you had a ton of great recommendations, to tell the Dodge, whether it's Stephen Head or whoever's interviewing you, like, hey, this is a great guy. He's gonna work. He's gonna do all these things, and they probably do just want to know the personality, get to know you. Like, is this a guy that's gonna mesh in our organization? Is this the right kind of person? And I feel like you check so many boxes when it comes to that. And you mentioned like just being curious, like having a hunger to learn, like those kind of things. And it leads me into this question. Like, you said you were young and dumb. You didn't know the 20/80 scale. I think you're being a little like, I know you at least knew what it was all about. Maybe not how to put a number on a guy, but like with that, what were some of those early learning curves that maybe you didn't expect or came up and you're like, man, this is tough. Whether it's the writing the evaluations or putting a number on a guy or seeing a guy in one look and having to have your opinion on him, like what were some of these things that really, hit you right away like, oh man, I got a lot to learn here?
No, man. I mean, I think I could probably spend like a few hours on this question alone, because there is like such a big learning curve. Obviously, it was kind of like my first real job. So that alone, just like the daily lifestyle of like getting in the car, bouncing around, expense reports, like the whole deal, it was kind of like that alone was a big transition. And I actually like an old scout in the Midwest said it best, man. He's like, "Oh, dude, like that first year is like I spent every night in the fetal position, like in the hotel, just like crying myself to sleep." And it's like it's kind of true, man. Like that first year, you're overwhelmed with like the bouncing around, the schedule, building relationships. You want to do a good job, kind of set the tone right. But then there's all this other like dynamic of baseball that you guys know well is like the evaluation part, right? Like understanding of like, okay, like what am I looking for? What do I believe? Like what are my core foundations of like a scout? And then taking that information and putting it to words and grades. So man, there's like a lot of steps. That's like an ever evolving process. I mean, I'm going into my seventh draft now, and it's still like a daily foundation of work, man. I mean, it's reviewing old reports. It's looking at my old language and seeing how we've like progressed. And I think at a young age, or like at a young age and just getting the scouting, man, like it's just like hard to do the job in general. But then you put on this other element that's like super challenging, and it's a complex puzzle that's essentially like impossible to solve, but we're trying to do our best. So really like getting your bearings on doing like the little things well, the scheduling, the communication part of like navigating your cross checker and being up to date with like all the important back end information, but also this like internal process of just like, man, like what am I looking at? What am I looking for? What do I believe in? But then also like understanding what other guys believe in and listening to them and hearing their process, so you can kind of start to formulate your own ideas. Because those first years, man, are like pretty hectic. They're wild. You don't know what to think. If you like roll in and you're confident out of the gates, and I'm still not confident 7 years in, like a little bit more, but like I think like if you go in confident and like trying to have all the answers, you're probably wrong. You're probably doing it wrong. Like I think being more open-minded as early as possible is like the best way to go about it. But yeah, man, like a ton of like roadblocks early on as young scouts. But I think the more you kind of embrace those challenges and the more you dive into them, the more comfortable you become with like your own opinions and your evaluation process.
That's you hit on so many things there that I want to take this in so many directions, but what I
Yeah.
think really carries over to what we do is exactly what you're talking about. Like with having your own opinion on guys, not acting like you know everything. Like because I'll never forget when I graduated college, getting into coaching in college, you do think you know way more than you know. And just being eager to learn and understand that, like, okay, this is going to be a process, not having an ego, not going in there like you know everything is huge. And like anybody that interns with us or these young guys that have come on board, like in these last couple of years, I think that's probably one of the biggest things is like just understand you don't know everything, be confident in the things that you do know, but man, be willing to learn and be willing to put an opinion out there and be okay that it's maybe wrong. Because to me, it's about how you go about the evaluation. If the process is right, you're looking at the right things, you're taking the right notes, you're paying attention to the right things, during a game. It's really all you can do. And then you got to build these reps that you said you're getting into your seventh year. And I'm sure you're a lot more confident than you were, when you first started. But I'm the same way. I've been doing this a long time and we're very different being prep baseball and, in the professional scouting game, but we're all looking at the same players, especially at the high school level. And we're all trying to go about the evaluations the same way. So I love what you're hitting on there for any young guys out there, any aspiring scouts. I think that's just like really, really good nuggets. What I wanted to kind of also ask was, all right, you were thrown into the fire that first, year, whatever, you're in the fetal position. Like, who did you lean on? Who was key for you? Because I think a lot of times these young guys too, they can get into like, oh, what does this veteran scout think, or what does this scout think, and they go with the norm, or they go with the popular opinion on guys instead of like, hey, this is my belief. I like this guy. I'm gonna stick with this guy. So I know I'm asking and throwing a lot of things there at you, but
No,
who did
no.
you lean on, and how hard is it to have your own opinion when you're at a game with 20 other scouts and you're all talking about the same guys?
Yeah, no, man. I mean, I think like the way I've always looked at it is like we formulate our own opinions, right? Based off of things we hear, what we experience, information we take from others. So I don't necessarily look at it as like taking information from other people, in like assessing it and breaking it down and figuring it out is a bad thing. I think that's how we formulate our own opinions. Now we're like gathering all this information. I think we have to have like a core construct of our beliefs so that we can kind of decipher through the things we believe in, and kind of formulate our own opinion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think like early on, so I kind of got thrown into the fire. It was 2020, which was a weird year, so I really only got like a few months of scouting per se, because I took the job in the fall of 19, but missed like a big window of like the summer or the fall schedule for games. So I got like a quick couple indoor sessions, couple game like 3 weeks of games. What was it, 2020, and then it's like total lockdown. So
Yep.
in terms of development, man, it was weird because like the human interaction part was a little bit like on the back burner till 2021, 2022. But really like 21, 22, as I kind of got settled in, I leaned on our staff quite a bit, man, like making phone calls. Part of the reason why I love like working for the Dodgers is everyone's like open to take a call. It doesn't matter if it was like Billy Gasparino or a director at the time, and now he's, doing what Billy's doing. I don't even know his title, but it's something big. He's great. But like Zach Fitzpatrick now is our director. But then like other area guys and other guys that have done it for a long time and been in the game for a while, I think it goes a long way to just like pick up the phone and call. And I think it can be intimidating as a young scout because you're like, I don't want to sound like an idiot on the phone. I don't
Totally.
want to like you're still figuring everything out. But I think like if you can break through that part of being like, hey man, like, yeah, sometimes you are going to sound like an idiot. Like we can't, like, it's an unknown game that's really hard. And if you can kind of break through that part, I think it leads to some like really powerful conversations, thought provoking information. And so I think I did like pretty good job of that and was able to like kind of build those relationships through the phone because that's all we could really do during that COVID period. But obviously leaned on my cross checker, like I mentioned earlier, Stephen Head, was like a big, kind of like a fun teacher because like Head is kind of like a do it on your own, figure it out. And if you need a call, I'll be there for you. So it's a little tough love, but at the same time, like if you needed him or you wanted to shoot some ideas back and forth together, he'd get on the phone and talk, man. So I think like using our own system within the Dodgers helped a lot. And then once I got out in the field, man, it was like, yeah, what you were describing, like talk to the veterans, talk to the guy that's done it for 30 years, that scouted guys up and down from, the 70s till now and take their information. Yeah, like baseball's adapting and we have access to more information. But at the end of the day, man, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to like highlight the best athletes, the best players that we possibly can. And those guys have been doing it for years. So like, take their information, run with it. And like I said before, maybe like you don't have to take everything they say, but start formulating your own opinions based off of information, decades of information, as well as like kind of the new age style of doing it, right? And I knew coming in, I was going to be on more of like the new age style, just with my background and what I was exposed to. So getting like the information from some of those old school scouts was like, the most beneficial thing I could do. It was a different perspective that I hadn't looked at, and it challenged my belief system. And I think that's like kind of helped me a ton at a young age, at least.
Well, there's a ton to unpack there as well, and I really appreciate all the info you're dropping. Like, one thing we
For
try to
sure.
stress to young guys, interns, is like build the reps on the field. Like, that's the only way you're going to get better at evaluating is the more guys you see, the better you're going to get. What I want to ask you, you talk about the new age, the old school scout, like so much value in all of it. How do the Dodgers value the new school, the old school? Is it a blend? What are they trying to do?
No, man. I think it's like a good blend. Is like a way to describe it. Now I think we're like in this era where it's just like you have more information and more access. So like I think we're like in a position where it's like, okay, yeah, you have like synergy or you have some like data that you can drive into. But also reminding us that like we're also scouts, we're bringing a different perspective. We don't need to be like data analysts. We have a unique perspective on our own. Now that doesn't mean you can't highlight players via video and be like, oh man, that like throw looks good. That guy looks athletic. He looks big. He looks like he's moving his body quick or whatever. And then go see him, right? Like it's just like a tool to kind of guide you and give you a little bit more information so we can make better decisions. And I think that's like what we're all trying to do, whether it's like new age or old age. And I think the Dodgers like do a good job of having a blend of that, man. We got a ton of guys that have scouted for a long time that bring great perspective on that end. We have newer, younger guys that are a little bit more in tune with like the data side of it. We can kind of come together. And I think that's part of what makes us so like powerful in the draft room. We're able to like pivot on certain things that maybe other teams can't just because like they're handcuffed by a model or they only do it a certain way. And not that like models are right or wrong or whatever. It's just like that's our style and we've had benefit from it. And I love that we do it. I think it like brings on great discussions and I'm like kind of like baseball junkie nerd. And I think it's like super fun to just like dive in and have baseball talk, man. Let's talk about this guy's athleticism, his movement patterns. Like, let's do it, you know? So I think we do a good job of keeping a blend.
Well, I'm going to open this up here in a second to some of our other guys that may have some questions, but just from doing this for a few years, I think one thing that's really hard as a scout is you may be in the Midwest and you may be seeing, 50 players, 100 players putting in reports, and come the draft time, you don't get a single one of your guys selected in the draft. Just depending on how it falls, the money, there's a lot of dynamics that go into the draft. And being able to kind of just wear that, like, man, all right, all my work went into this. I didn't see my guys selected on draft day. With that, do you have a draft, that you've had that you're most proud of? And then like a memorable draft or anything, a draft story, that a guy that, man, maybe you took late that you put your word on or your name on and he's kind of excelled through the system or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, man. I think like I could take it in so many avenues. Because I'll be honest, like there's years that I scouted, that I look back at that I didn't get anyone in the draft, but I look back at it and it's like, man, I had a good year that year. Like I really like, I got to everything. I saw the guys I needed to see. We got the guys we liked in play. We had the backgrounds nailed. Like I felt really good about my work, which I think is like a little bit more sustainable than like playing the roller coaster game of the draft where you don't know if you're going to get someone, you really want someone. And they go before your pick, or you don't get a shot to get them, or whatever it is, man. I think that like understanding that your work is valued and that's like the important part. But man, like draft stories, yeah, man. Like I think, or in terms of like draft processes and stories, I think most recently I had a guy we had signed in 2023. His name's Cam Day out of the University of Utah, and that was like a really fun one, man, because Cam was like an ID in high school. The guy that is my cross checker now, Brian Compton, was the area scout prior. He had ID'd him in high school, liked him a little bit. I come over to the Four Corners and like don't really get to see him in the fall a whole lot. So I'm kind of like just going off of Brian's evaluation, Brian's follow, and it just like read well. I remember sitting in a coffee shop with Brian and going over some players. I'm like, man, like you kind of like have some passion for this guy, huh? And he's like, yeah, dude, like he's athletic, his arm works quick, he can spin a breaking ball. I'm like, all right, sweet. Let's scout this one. And Brian actually saw him early as a crossover, kind of on accident. Got him right away. I went in and like Cam, and like I can say this because I talked to Cam quite a bit. Cam like got his teeth absolutely kicked in like his draft year. I mean, like might be like one of the highest ERAs to ever like get signed with like a bulk of innings. I mean, he threw like 90 innings and had like a 12 ERA or something ridiculous. Like he got his teeth kicked in, man. And we always left the field like, okay, maybe we didn't think he's like in position to take him in the top 10 rounds or top 5 rounds, what we thought. But like there was something about this guy we really liked. We liked the athleticism, how he moved, the peak velocity. We thought there was like some low hanging fruit with how we could like adjust his pitch usage and stuff like that. So we're like, man, like we still like this guy. So Brian, I give Brian a lot of credit. Brian like hung with him, and we got guys to see him. And it came to the after the draft, and we had some money laying around, which is sometimes unique. But we had like some money, and he had kind of priced himself out of like the standard day 3, $100,000 or whatever the number is. But we had some money laying around, and man, we like pushed pretty hard for him. And it was a little bit of a struggle. Like it wasn't an easy one because it was like, yeah, he still had a 12 ERA at the University of Utah. Like, it still doesn't look great on paper, and you're kind of taking a leap of faith. And but I give like Billy a lot of credit and some of our other guys in our staff that helped run that process of being like, yeah, we trust our guys. Like we got the money, we trust our scouts. Let's do it. Cam goes out, man, big velo jump. They mix his pitches a bunch. Now he's like kind of on a pretty good fast track in Double-A. Got put to the pen in Double-A, but started up until then. And man, he's like on a big league path. So that one was like kind of a fun one that we had to like grind a little bit for. We had to fight. I think we valued him more than the industry, and partially it's because we've like had success with those type of players. So that was kind of like one of my more like favorite or memorable singular players.
That's like kudos to you guys. That's awesome. I love stories like that, and I think that's something that maybe just the common person out there doesn't totally understand. Even with like how we do our rankings, we get so tied up in the performance, and you're evaluating the tools. You're evaluating the athleticism, the body type, the way the arm works, the secondary stuff. And like you said, there's other factors that could probably go into why he wasn't having success. Who knows? Maybe, I'm not saying the University of Utah, but whoever, like maybe he just didn't have a ton of confidence every time he looked into the dugout at the coach. Like you never know what the factors could be to get the most out of somebody. And I think that's a huge part of what you guys are doing. You don't know everything that goes on at the high school level with these guys, the college level. So like when you are evaluating a guy, and I know I said I was going to turn this over to some of our guys, but like all tools, athleticism, obviously you want to see some performance in there that gives you the confidence. It gives you more confidence than a guy with a 12 ERA. But like, how do you balance that? Because that's that's probably the toughest part of what you guys do, right?
Totally. And I think that's like kind of where we find our value, right? Like baseball's like tough, especially now where it is getting more like database and like there's more objective numbers. I think we like find our value in those like intricacies of like, yeah, this guy's like a really good mover, or like I got some background information of his training age. Like this guy hasn't done anything, or he was a 4-sport athlete and he's never trained. Like, so like gathering that information, I think is like key, but then to make the decision in terms of like, yeah, like how you scale it, right? Like where does athleticism fit compared to makeup and this and that? Yeah. Which, yeah, man, I don't think there's like a right answer for that. I think that's what we're trying to do kind of on like a yearly basis with all these guys. And we're trying to like bake into the equation what's most important. And now there are things that are objective that we can kind of anchor to. But then those little separations, whether you go, yeah, like we like this guy, or we're like, I think come down to some of those finer details. And it takes like a big working group to like come to those decisions, like I'm not the only one just being like, yeah, this guy moves well, we should take him. It's like, okay, yeah, that's like the starting point, but now we're going to pass the ball to some other scouts, or we're going to pass the ball to PD and ask them and kind of just get group information to try to make the best decision possible. And I think it kind of goes back to like our talk before of like, we just like don't really have it figured out, but if we like work on it together, we can get closer. So
what I'm thinking of the athlete out there, whether they're in high school or college, they may listen to this. What are some things that will get a guy crossed off? Whether it's how they act on the field, like are there certain things? Maybe it's you personally, you have a certain feel, or maybe it's the Dodgers. It's like, hey, if this guy does this, or you see this, like we're not taking a guy like this.
No, man, it's a great question. I think like first and foremost, and I honestly, and like I'm like cautious with how I say this, especially like the coach in me is like, I'm probably on like the little bit of the side of the scale where like I don't bake like makeup and into the equation um, as much as like the talent piece, because I think like you really got to get the talent right, okay, and then like implement the makeup. Makeup's very important, but it's like we got to get the talent right. But that being said, like yeah, man, if you're like kind of a fringy draft or like you need the makeup piece to push you over the edge, like yeah, man, if you're like dogging it down the line and like you're kind of like a cancer in the dugout and like your teammates don't like you and you're not working hard, it's like it's really hard to fight for that guy, man. Now like the elite of elite talent are still going to get their opportunities, right? Whether they have good makeup or not, that's just the reality of it. It's hard to find extremely talented guys. But for the most people that kind of fall into that middle ground, the separating part really is like, how hard are you willing to work? Like, what are you like willing to do? I find like I gravitate towards like players that are passionate and curious. We have so much access to training and information, like an absurd amount. And I think a lot of guys, when they utilize that and they're open to it and they're curious and they lean on coaches to get better, I think that's just like a really good recipe for like taking advantage of those resources. So yeah, there's things you can cross off, man. Like if you're just like kind of like a shithead on the field, like that's kind of like an issue, unless
Yeah.
you're really good. You better be
Yeah.
really good and playing shortstop. So yeah, man. I mean, there's ways to cross guys off, but on the flip side, there's ways to kind of boost yourself as well.
I try to stress that before events when I do get a chance to talk to guys is like the separators are so big. When a college coach is going to come to see you, in your case, a pro scout, it's like they're looking at hundreds of players at the same talent level. So like make sure your separators are boosting you and not getting you crossed off. And I'm going to pass it around here. I've taken enough of this time on the interview, so I know Tyler was going to get in here next.
Mitch, I'd love to just stay on the topic of like your role right now with the Dodgers. Looking at the spring, I know how crazy that is for us. I think I speak for the majority of our group here. Like the spring is kind of like the best time for us as scouts because we can finally get out, watch these guys play, and I assume it's probably similar for you in your role. But like, what does your day to day look like covering, 4 states, and you also have responsibilities outside of that region as well. How crazy is it for you in the spring, and just kind of what does your day to day look like?
No, that's a great question, man. And I'll drop the quick bomb on you, but I actually like technically cover like 13 states in all of Canada now. So this year's gonna look a little like different than years past, for sure. Like and now granted, like 4 of those states, it's like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, or Alaska, where there's just like not that much going on there. But I've actually like the 4 corners. I transitioned to both the Dakotas, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and then all of Canada. So like what my day to day looks like next February is probably going to be different than what I've experienced in the past. But man, I'm like super. I think like developing a good routine through the spring is important, and it's super hard to do in like an industry we do where you're bouncing from game to game. You don't even know like where your next flight is or your next hotel, and there's a lot of planning and prepping. But I do think some like stable work habits are important. Like so for instance, like day to day, if I'm home, like I try to take care of all my like at home responsibilities, stuff like that. But just work wise, I really try to like hop on the computer for still like at least a half hour, an hour a day, check up on stats, see who's trending forward, just to get like kind of a guide of where my next move should be. So constantly looking at schedules, piecing together what the best run could possibly be, not only for me, but also for my cross-checker and guys along the way of like scheduling and, hey, make sure we're at the right games, because that's like half the battle, right? Being at the like right field at the right time. So honestly, like a lot of our prep work consists of that. And then obviously like the fun part is like, yeah, get to the game, let's evaluate, let's scout. And then like the process afterwards, right? Like getting your thoughts down on paper. And I'm kind of like, I try to do a lot of like prep on the back end, especially with how much information we have, watch a lot of video, look at data so that when I do see them in person, I can kind of like go pen to paper right away and kind of stay on top of those reports. Now, it's not always the case. Sometimes you got to do a little bit more digging or a little bit more research to feel good about your reports. But I try to like get that report in either night of or next day, maybe sleep on it, make sure I feel convicted in what I'm about to publish. And that's kind of like the day-to-day process. Now, like a lot of like driving and flying and bouncing around in between, but like that's at least my kind of routine in spring, at least.
Yeah, Mitch, I was just curious, like when does your evaluation process start for a player, and how many times do you typically want to try and see a player before you feel pretty confident in your decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously it's going to like vary player to player, right? Like the guy at Hamilton High School, 15 minutes from my house, probably going to get seen a few more times to try to like make sure my marriage is intact, you know? Like take a few home days, like get over like let's see that guy a little bit. But like outside of that, man, yeah, like I think the process is different in the cold weather states. It's a little bit different out west in the Four Corners. You do see your high school kids a little bit more. They just play more. The weather's nicer. You're not battling that. So when you're out here, man, you get a little bit more familiar with them. You really do. You get 3 or 4 games. You sometimes get 2 or 3 games to just even decide, like, if we need to continue to running a process or how we feel about this guy. Where there's other scenarios in Colorado, Utah, the Midwest, where it's like, man, I'm seeing a guy one time, and I kind of have to make a decision. Do we need to scout this guy or do we not? And like how urgent, right? So I like our system of doing it, and obviously I never experienced any other system, but we kind of work like a couple different styles of like indicating, hey, like cross-checker should go see this guy, right? So yeah, man, I mean, like sometimes a lot, sometimes you get like 3 at-bats in the Midwest and the guy walks 3 times and you're like, shit, I don't like, what am I supposed to do? You know? So I think when stuff like that happens, you go back to the foundation of scouting, like body, athlete, tool set, what position is he playing? Do I have some vision for this like swing and offensive profile to work? And then, man, like roll with it. How much you believe in the kid? Like, do you have the background information? Do you feel good about the kid? Man, without going like on a deep tangent, I had that issue with Noah Miller back in high school. I don't know if you remember that one, Wisconsin kid who's actually with us now.
Absolutely.
It was like every time I showed up, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like 0 for 0 with 4 walks, or like, you know, he like never swung the bat because he got like pitched around. And so that was like a challenging one for me being a young scout and being like, man, I don't know how to value this guy. I don't get to see him hit. I don't get to see him do things. So history is important, utilizing your resources, making phone calls, looking up old video, and just having some sort of vision for players, I think is important to like make the call when you need to.
You talked about prep baseball kind of scratching the surface for you. Was there anything you were able to take away other than that from your time with prep baseball into with the Dodgers?
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, it definitely did. Like, I remember, gosh, and I actually like got to work under Drew, so it was like this is like great to kind of like reconnect. And you know, when I was with PBR, I don't remember, Drew. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was like 7 or 8 states at the time, maybe.
I mean, that's a great question because it was a while ago. So yeah, we've grown a lot since you got since you got into the pro game. We have grown a lot. So it probably was like 8 to 10. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember just like not being a lot at the time, and then looking up like 3 or 4 years ago and to see how it grew was so cool to see. But to be like in that Midwest office, kind of where it started under Drew and Steve Nielsen and Yarbs and Duncan and all those guys, man, I kind of got like the first taste of like, oh, these are the guys like running the company, you know, this is pretty cool. So that part alone was just like cool for me to experience, kind of be like a fly on the wall, like watching those guys put together their top 100 list and how they like prepped them and moved them around. And, you know, like some guys like agreed and disagreed. And it was like cool to see like the interactions of like, yeah, man, we're just like, and it was cool to see like the team atmosphere of like, yeah, okay, we can disagree, but we're the end goal is the same. We're trying to get these guys as close to right as possible, and we're not going to always be right. But I think that like really helped, man. That like motivated me to be like passionate about it because I could see like a scenario where it's like if there's this culture of like clashing and nobody can like figure it out, it's like, man, I don't want to like be around that environment, like scouting. Yeah, like I'm gonna go to school, you know. So like I think just like getting like a really like good taste out of the gate was super important for kind of sparking my passion for it. So that was cool, man. And then I like getting on the road. I got on the road. I remember we went to like some, gosh, I can't remember what high school, man. It was like a showcase down in almost St. Louis. Really like nice field. Yeah, I just remember doing that and getting on the road and like grabbing dinner after, and everyone's talking baseball. I'm like, man, this is like pretty cool. This is unique. Like this doesn't happen in most job fields. Like this is just like, yeah, a bunch of guys like talking about baseball. Like sweet, I don't, like that. So definitely those experiences and relationships with the people at PBR is really what like helped.
Mitch, I would love to know how your playing career has assisted and just like becoming a successful scout. I know like you were obviously a successful baseball player, right? But I think it's unique that like you weren't an SEC guy, right? So you weren't seeing that level every day. You were UIC, which is maybe a little more diamonds in the rough type, which I think is an advantage in a way. So I was just curious, like, did your playing career, because obviously you played in the minors as well, so seeing those guys every day, the talent level, how that affected you at all, if at all.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of where you build your first like Rolodex of players, man, is like your playing career. You just go back to like, oh yeah, I played with that guy and he acted like this, and this is what helped his career, and this is what hurt it. And I think that's like kind of the foundation for most of us. Now, I don't think it's like fully necessary if you don't have that, but it is like a nice starting point, right? And yeah, man, like being a mid-major guy, actually like walked on to UIC originally, my first year out there, and like kind of just like not being heavily recruited out of high school was always like kind of developed like that little chip on my shoulder as a player. And I think like kind of like carry it in the scouting industry, I guess. I don't know. You just like develop like, the work habits that you had to do prior to like survive at the Division I level, and tread water. And I think those like resilient, just like kind of get after it, continue to work hard, helps you just like develop in the scouting realm. So I think from a combination of like looking for players that maybe are under scouted and have a little bit of like chip on their shoulder and willing to do like what other guys aren't willing to do, I definitely like gravitate towards it. I try to like be a little cautious of like going too much, like, oh yeah, this guy's a dude, he works hard, he's this, that, and like, because it's like easy for me to do. It's like, man, I want to adopt that kid. You know what I mean? Like that, I want that guy to be my son, like that type of like passion. But then like remembering like, okay, like, yeah, he's still got to be talented though. Like, don't forget that part, right? But like those traits, man, are so important. And they do like, it really do gravitate towards guys like that. And maybe it's because that's how I perceived myself as a player, is like kind of like underscouted, and honestly, like looking back at it, man, it's probably because I just wasn't that good yet, like the reality of it. But like, but yeah, man, like I definitely think it does like kind of like carve out a little bit of your perspective on how you look at players for sure.
No, I love that. I got one more question. What's kind of your scouting sweet tooth? And you kind of mentioned like your beliefs a couple times on this podcast, so I would love for you to elaborate on that a little bit if you're willing to.
Ooh, I guess like before I dive into it, I want to like firm up exactly like what do you mean by sweet tooth, just so I don't take
just
it down
like
wrong.
the profile of like I love like a sinker slider type guy on the mound, like just kind of that, like a left-handed hitting shortstop. Drew loves those undersized middle infielders, like just stuff like that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Oof, that's tough. Because there's like not one way to do it, right? But I definitely do tend to lead towards like the better the athlete, the more interesting, both on the mound and like position player wise, just because of like the success we've had with our player development. You can get a little bit like creative and visionary of like what these guys could turn into, like those freaky athlete kind of profiles. Now there still has to be, as you guys know, there still has to be an element of like the baseball skill, especially in our game today where guys are so skilled, and they've spent so much time developing and they have such good training, that when guys are behind in that department, it's tough to catch up. It is. It doesn't mean guys can't do it. It's just you have to have a little bit more runway, a little bit more like time for some of those guys to develop. So balancing a little bit of like the athlete baseball skill combination, but definitely look for athletes, man. Like shortstops, I mean, like they're hard to find. So like a guy that can play short always sticks out to me. The standard like scouting mantra of like up the middle, right? Like center field, shortstop, catcher. And then on the mound, man, I love guys that are athletes, like guys that can tinker with the baseball. It comes natural to them. They move well. I think we've done such a great job of like adding pitches, adding velocity, to guys that just like move efficient and move well. So I definitely am like geared or attracted to like that type of profile.
Hey, one more follow up with that. Speaking of athletes, what are your thoughts on like the two sport athletes? Like a guy you're scouting a guy that is a good basketball player, a good football player. Like, is that to you a plus when you're evaluating a baseball player?
I mean, I still love it. I think like there's an element to those athletes where like when you have to like problem solve in a different environment or a different setting, and they're capable of doing it, I think it does like there's like an underlying indication of like just like general athleticism, which I like. Now it's like tricky, right? Because if a guy's like so far behind because he's playing all these other sports, fine, but maybe he's just not ready for professional baseball right out of high school, or but down the road when that guy like I can't even think of like a scenario where a guy that played 3-4 sports through high school puts down the other sports, goes to college or goes to pro ball and doesn't get better. Like he's just gonna spend more time. He's less experienced. He's less tuned up. He's got more kind of runway to develop. But that starting point has to be close enough to where like, okay, we can take this on and run with it. But yeah, man, like in short, I do like, I love the 2-sport, 3-sport athlete. I think I always will. I don't know if like anyone will drive that out of me. I really like those guys that can just like problem solve in different environments.
I have one more quick question on top of that. Going back a second, like talking about how like building pitches off of guys, what's like a good indicator of that besides just being an athlete? Because I've always like been intrigued by that. Guys are like, oh, we could just add this, add that. Like, is there a tell that you look for besides just being a good athlete, or is it just kind of hoping like if we get them doing this, like it could really take off?
No, it's a great question, man. I think like yes and no. I think like yes. I think there's like indicators. Now like confirmation. This guy does that. This guy does this, so we could probably do that. It's a little bit like probably aggressive for me, and especially as like a scout, like not working with those guys. I don't like fully know, but I do think there's like indicators, right? I think like a simple and give one of my like scouting tips out there. I think like one of the simple ways you can kind of like do that is like ask for a guy's pitch grips, man. Like look at him, and ask like, hey man, how many times have you switched your 4-seam grip, or how many times have you tried this, or what kind of changeup are you working on, and what have you tried, right? To get a general idea of like, okay, this guy's tried 100 different grips with his changeup, he still can't throw a changeup, like, like maybe it's just like not for him, So like a little bit of that I think is like a nice like at least baseline indicator to get like a little bit of information, and then from there it's like, okay, yeah, like how does this throw work? What are like examples of past guys that have thrown this way or have similar release traits? Like what type of profile works for them? Because I think like our guys at least like do a really good job of like rounding out an arsenal of some sort to a guy's throw. So there's not like one avenue to go down. You got the sinker slider profile. You got like massive, maybe a guy's got weak fastball quality and we can carve out 3 different shapes. It's like, okay, now we have 3 fastballs, right? So there's so many different ways you can go with it. But I do think like the important part is like gathering the information on the front of like, what has this guy tried? What hasn't he tried? And like, where can we take this?
Well, Mitch, I feel like we could talk for hours. I really, really appreciate the open conversation here and answering our questions and jumping on. We are really, really privileged to have you. Super pumped to see everything you've done in your career. Can't wait to see kind of where it goes down the road as well. And I know I cherish like every moment I get to see you randomly, whether it's at like the Super 60 or somewhere. We don't see each other nearly often enough anymore, but thank you for jumping on, and till next time.
Great. No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And look forward to keeping the connections with all you guys and Drew. And hopefully, man, like now that I got the Midwest or like more of the Midwest, I think I might be able to sneak out to the Super 60 this year. So hopefully get to see you there, man.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'll be there.
All right.
Well, thanks, Mitch.
All right. Sweet. Thanks, Drew.
All right, and then just a heads up for next week's episode, we will have something coming out. Planning on getting a draft style podcast out next week, a little more fun. Talking through some 2027 prospects. I won't get into too many of the details, but if you are a avid listener here, just be sure to check that out next week. Well, it'll be out on Wednesday, which I think is Christmas Eve or Christmas. Christmas Eve. Okay. Yeah, so just keep an eye out for that, and we'll have something coming out. But as always, appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to leave us a review, 5 stars on Spotify and Apple, and then subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts.
I appreciate the audience, appreciate all the support. Make sure to get in there, review us, hit that subscribe button. Hope everybody has a great holiday season.